Hey friends, Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, and I'm back again with another video. Today I'm going to be setting up my bullet journal for June 2019. Before we jump into it, I want to thank today's sponsor, Squarespace. I've been using Squarespace for my website, plantbasedbride.com, as well as my personal acting website, elizabethgreer.ca, for years now. So if you need a website, go to squarespace.com/plantbasedbride for 10% off your first purchase. Link in the description. I'll talk a little bit more about Squarespace later in the video, but for now, let's just get right into the planning. Starting off with the cover page, as we always do, this month's theme is leaves, and it's funny, once I chose this theme, I had a feeling of deja vu, and I couldn't figure out why I felt like I'd done leaves recently, even though I was sure that I hadn't. And I realized that 2 years ago exactly, for June 2017, I did a plant or leaf theme in my bullet journal, which is odd. I guess there's some kind of connection in my brain between June and leaves. I don't know what that is, but it's been 2 years, so I actually think it's kind of cool to be doing another leaf theme now and be able to compare it to my interpretation of a leaf theme 2 years ago. So definitely go check out my June 2017 plan with me after you watch this, just to be able to compare. I thought it was really cool to pull out my old bullet journal and to look at how my style has changed over 2 years. Anyways, weird coincidences aside, for my cover page, I wanted to have a variety of branches with leaves coming in from the sides of the page, and then to just have a very simple header in the center. So I used my stamp set again that I used in my new bullet journal setup video. I like that the font looks like a typewriter, and it's just a lot faster than me trying to do it by hand. As always, all of the supplies I'm using will be linked in the description box down below. I'm keeping the leaves very minimalist, very simple in this setup, and adding just the tiniest touch of color using this Tombow brush pen. In 228, it's sort of a desaturated mid-tone green, and I really liked just the tiny hint of color that this added to the spreads. So on the cover page, just drawing these leaves, keeping them very simple, starting with the basic outline, and then using a ruler just to create a bunch of straight lines to imitate the look of veins in a leaf. And then creating a very simple frame around the image using my Tombow brush pen. I did my best to make straight lines using the brush tip side. I don't know how people make perfectly straight, even thickness lines using the brush pen side of the Tombow. If you have tips, let me know in the comments. I did my best, definitely not perfect, but as I've mentioned before, I think having a bullet journal is helping me work my perfectionism out of my system, which, I mean, honestly, can only be a good thing. Moving on to the next spread, on the left side of the page, I'm doing my little quote page. For the leaves here, I wanted to keep them super, super minimal, just a very basic, almost abstract outline of the leaves, and I really wanted to blow them up in scale. For this month's quote, I decided that I had to go as punny as possible. So this month's quote is, "Don't stop believing," because who am I if not a 26-year-old woman whose sense of humor is entirely made up of excessive sarcasm and dad jokes? It's just who I am. On the right side of the page, I'm setting up my monthly. Again, this is going to be a common theme throughout the video, keeping it super simple. The dimensions of each day of the month are 4x4. This might not work in your bullet journal because this journal that I'm using is a B5 size, so it's slightly larger than an A5. Along the bottom, I just added a simple branch, and I thought it would look cool to combine the stamps that have a very print typewriter look with a more delicate, simple monoline lettering. So I lettered June and then stamped 2019 underneath. And I like that combination, the bold versus the very thin lettering. I just think they complement each other very well. Moving on to the next spread, which is my trackers spread and my line a day spread. This month I decided to track a couple different things. So I have my mood tracker, I have a coffee tracker, which I have done before. I feel like now that I'm working from home, I'm drinking a lot more coffee and sometimes far too late in the day, and it's definitely messing up my sleep. So I want to track that. I'm tracking stretching because that is something that I'm trying to get back in the habit of stretching every single day. And then a sleep tracker as well. This time I am tracking quality of sleep and not hours. So focusing on whether my sleep was a great sleep, if it was a restless sleep, an average sleep, those kinds of things. And my trackers are in a graph style. Like I've done before, I really think my favorite style of tracker is this graph style. My visual, scientifically minded brain really appreciates seeing the data laid out in a graph. It just translates better for me. So if you want to see what this looks like when it's all filled in, definitely go follow me on Instagram. I do my best to share filled out trackers on there, and if I forget, you can always leave me a comment or a DM and I will post it. If you just generally want to see what it would look like, but not these specific trackers, you can also check out my last video, which was a flip through of my last journal. You can see a number of filled out mood and sleep trackers of different styles, and there are at least a couple in there that are mood trackers in a graph style, so you can get a pretty good idea of what this will look like all filled in. On the right side of the page, I'm doing a simple line a day spread like I did back in March. This is sort of a combination of a gratitude spread or a memories spread. I just write one line every single day, as the name implies, whether that's something I was grateful for, something that was great about that day, something that was difficult about that day, just whatever I feel is important to record. And that way I can come back later and get a bit of a snapshot of each day of the month. And moving on to the final spread I'm going to be setting up. This is my first weekly spread. Of course, I'm doing a rolling weekly. When do I ever do a different type of weekly spread? Literally never. If you don't know how a rolling weekly works, I will link the video where I explain it. But this time I decided to do the 3-page faux Dutch door style rolling weekly. This way I get half a page for each day, which just helps me out a little bit, especially working from home. I can kind of write out a timetable of my day to keep a little bit more organized. I decided to have this green Tombow border cross over the pages so that no matter how the center page is folded or unfolded, the line is consistent. I also really like how these fan leaves turned out. I don't know the actual name of these types of leaves, but I really liked that they were a little bit more irregular. And I was trying to alternate between a little bit more intricate leaves versus very simple abstract leaves like the eucalyptus branch on the last spread. Here are some of my absolute favorite recreations from this past month. As always, if you recreate any of my spreads, please tag me on Instagram at Elizabeth Turn so I can check them out, and I may just share them in next month's Plan With Me video. And now that we're done setting it up, here is a final flip through of all of the spreads from this month. I really love how this turned out, how simple and minimalist it is. Just that tiny, tiny little hint of color without being overwhelming. I am a big fan. Let me know in the comments below what theme you're doing for June and any requests you have for future themes for me to do in my bullet journal. Thank you so much to my patrons for your support. I appreciate you so, so much. A little shout out to our newest patrons since last week's video, Tasha, Amanda, and Nicole. Welcome to the squad. If you want to join the Plant-Based Bride Patron Squad, check out the link in the description. Now I want to take a quick moment to talk a little bit about Squarespace, the sponsor for this week's video. I have been using Squarespace for my websites for years now. I actually started plantbasedbride.com on Squarespace before I ever started making YouTube videos under the name Plant-Based Bride. What really drew me to Squarespace in the first place is that I had never made a website on my own, and I really wanted to start one, but I knew nothing about coding in any way, shape, or form, and Squarespace makes it so incredibly easy to make a website. It's honestly ridiculous how quickly you can throw together something that is so beautiful and professional looking. As you all know, I am very into everything being aesthetically pleasing. Obviously, I am an artist, I am creative, I love beautiful things, and Squarespace makes it so easy to make a beautiful website, even with zero knowledge about website design. Here you can see that my two websites, plantbasedbride.com and my acting website, elizabethgreer.ca, have very different feels, but they both look so professional, and they were really quick and easy to make. Squarespace is basically a one-stop shop. You can get your domain there, they host your website, they have amazing customer service and really help to walk you through the process. You can host an online store on Squarespace if that's something you're interested in doing. Overall, I have been so satisfied with my experience with Squarespace over the past 4 years or so definitely check them out if you're in the market for a website. Use code PLANTBASEDBRIDE for 10% off your first purchase. Link is in the description. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and for offering an incredible, easy-to-use service. Those of us who are HTML challenged but want a beautiful website, thank you. So that is it for this month's Plan With Me video. I hope you enjoyed it. Give this video a like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already joined the fam. We would love to have you, and I will see you very soon in my next one. Bye, friends.